Many of us are familiar with Dr. Boyce Watkins. He's a PhD, former lecturer, very popular in the financial circles of Black America. But we also don't realize that Dr. Boyce Watkins is pretty big on social media, and his platforms typically bring people onto them that are introduced into, let's say, Black YouTube space. Through Dr. Boyce Watkins, we all met Yvette Carnell, for an example. And also, some of us were introduced to another YouTuber by the name of Cynthia G. Now, I want to give you an example of the collaborations that Boyce Watkins and Cynthia G used to have, and they were quite positive. Cynthia G had a different tune back then. Here's a snippet of their show, Dr. Boyce Watkins and Cynthia G, How Did Fathers End Up Not Being in the Home? Aired on April 8th, 2017. Let's play that clip.
People commit crimes, and they don't. What they do, though, is they set up the situation and they influence them and they create the circumstances that breed crime. So if we're going to sit here and say,
you think that the black man, but the white, let me ask you this: does the white man have more power than the black man than black people?
That's not the point. We already know that's
yes,
obvious.
So let me ask you this:
we're not debating power dynamics.
Do black men have more power than black women?
Of course they do. Of course.
We have the ability to overpower black women and force them to get fake booties. Is that what
no, but you do have the power to glorify that in rap songs that are made by black males, and you do have the power to make them popular, and millions of black men follow Amber Roses and Kim Kardashian and Coco's. You do have the influence on that, and you do have the power to only put them on your platforms and to only include them in your videos that are being aired to millions of women, and to gravitate towards those type of women. Because even when black men complain about black women wearing weave, you never really see them gravitating to black women with natural hair. You only see them gravitating to women with a bunch of weave and a bunch of makeup on.
Now, at this particular time, Cynthia G wasn't going after black men. In fact, her strategy was going after white supremacists. And that's all she dealt with. She didn't deal with black men or going after black men. She only went after white supremacists. But Cynthia G, something happened in her life where she went from talking in a positive tone towards the black community to having almost evil commentary about black men. And this is what she had to say about Kevin Samuels once he passed. Guys, I will tell you that it's pretty bad, but let's play that clip also.
Hey guys, I wanted to come on here to go over a video that was sent to me. And listen, I don't want to talk about worm food, kitten and heels. I really don't. I don't want to talk about a bandit who had multiple failed marriages, who was unhealthy, who had a low value life and subsequently a low value funeral. I don't want to talk about a bandit who croaked on top of a throwback because he was so unhealthy. And I called out the fact that he was so unhealthy that his low value heart simply gave out. I don't want to talk about a bandit who became the father of all bandits to some daddy deprived riding struggle bandits who are desperate for a daddy, so they'll jump on any and cyber slurp it that they can find. I don't want to talk about this, but I got a video here that does a great job of illustrating black women's pathology. It does a great job of illustrating the level of conditioning, the black male worship, the low self-value, and black women's willingness to do anything to get validation from a bandit who ultimately has nothing to offer her, black women's willingness to do anything to be able to marry a bandit so she can get stuck in poverty, brag on the internet, all for the sake of being able to say she had a husband, yet it's a 90% chance that she's going to be extremely miserable in that relationship. I don't want to talk about this, but this video is an excellent example of what is wrong with the pathology of black women and why these struggle bandits won't change, why they're not motivated to change, and why they see no value in a group of women who continue to worship them despite their nothing as status in society. And y'all know I wasn't one that watched The Kitten in Heels, but what I do know is that he was popularized by a bunch of bandits who ignored his existence when he was telling him how to get the track marks out of their drawers, how to get the crust out of their eyes and the stains from between their teeth. They didn't like him then, but the moment that he decided he wanted to upgrade his not even average at best but low value existence, because when he was married he couldn't even provide for his wife, he decided to jump on the internet and do what all these bandits do and use black women as a means to accumulate revenue. And he was very successful in doing that because he understood black female pathology and he also understood black male pathology. I never watched The Kitten in Heels. There is not one episode of his that I watched, and quite frankly, I couldn't understand, beyond black male worship and the low self-esteem of black women, why they would go to a struggle bandit, a failed one, who was in his 50s and wasn't even smart enough to take care of his own health, as he's sitting up there telling black women to take care of their health and lose weight in order to become validated. The bottom line is Worm Food Samuels was as much of a walking contradiction as any of these struggle bandits are. While they'll sit up and talk about black women need to step away from the table and they're obese, and they'll sit up and they'll even post the obesity rates, but what they won't tell you is that they're the most broke, obese demographic on the planet. In addition to them costing the government $50 billion a year by being broke, if you look at the obesity rates, it doesn't just apply to black women who, by the way, bear children, but it applies to these struggle bandits as well. You would think they were the most in shape demographic, but they are not. But the reality is they don't have to think about losing weight. They don't have to think about bettering themselves. They don't have to think about getting any money. They don't have to think about any type of self-improvement, because what they know, just like the clip in the beginning that you heard, is that black women are always going to choose them, and it doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter how toxic they are. It doesn't matter how harmful they are. It doesn't matter how abusive, broke, busted, and disgusted, nothing as they are. Black women are still going to tolerate them.
Let me say this about Boyce Watkins. He's, pretty much known as a guy that is, he's for women. He's a simp. That's what most guys have to say about Boyce Watkins. But even Cynthia G got too much for him. So much so, he found himself disassociating himself from her. And he released some information about her the other night that I had no idea that it was her. And even though he didn't mention her name, he's definitely talking about Cynthia G. I'm going to play that clip and then I'm going to come back.
And of course, it means we all need some therapy, right? Therapy, I'm telling y'all, therapy really works. Y'all got to do it. And so you don't sort of overdo it. And if you find somebody that really loves you and you love them, then you figure out how to navigate it. Don't go to the internet to ever find rules for your relationship, because the internet's full of a bunch of weird, dysfunctional people who sit and yell at the screen all day, who have horrible relationships, who don't know what the hell they're talking about. Seriously, I know some of these internet influencers, some of them who have I'm talking about people with 100,000 followers. Some of them, I gave them their first start. I put them out there. And then when I got to know them, I saw that their lives were so dysfunctional. There's one lady who says the most horrible things about black men. And what people don't know is that she had a father who used drugs in front of her. So her hatred for black men goes all the way back to her daddy. But because she's never, ever dealt with that, she just spews it out into the world and blames every problem she has on black men. Obviously, a woman like that ain't ready for a relationship.
Now, many folks want to know, why does Cynthia G hate black men so much? Now, to be honest, in the case of Kevin Samuels, he never talks about her. He never responded to her. Kevin Samuels never said anything negative about Cynthia G. In fact, he didn't take Cynthia G that serious. So the fact that she would talk about him in that way, when as a man he never spoke about her, shows you what kind of person that she is. But also the fact that we know why Cynthia G feels like that towards black men. And he talked about it. Cynthia G had a father that was on drugs, that behaved in a way in front of her that made her disrespect or dislike black men. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of things that many of us as black men have seen black women do. I've seen it in my family. I've seen black women do some things that is so bad. It almost make you cry just even thinking about it. That's how bad it was. But now, is it okay for us to go around saying those same things about black women if a black woman dies? Like, would it make sense if we would have that same exact rhetoric? And I know that some brothers do have that rhetoric, and I'm here to tell you that I don't care who says it, even if it was me, whatever, it's wrong, right? To say what she just said about somebody is wrong. And I know sometimes people make mistakes, they get older, they get better, but no, this is like what she's saying right now. This is a few months ago. She just said this. This is where her mind is now, and she's almost like in her almost 40. So this is how she feels now. The reality is this. You can't go around blaming other people for everything. All right? Just because you had a father or a mother that was on drugs and was not a good parent, that don't give you the right to hate people. And Boyce Watkins just exposed it. So a lot of the issues that this lady is dealing with ain't got nothing to do with African American men. It got something to do with your own dad. And that's just what a lot of black people in general, like a lot of things that we take out on each other don't even got to deal with the people that you're dealing with. Go get personal help. Go get professional help. And then what Dr. Umar said about her, like, you going around with all this toxicity and you got the nerve to have a black son? Now, if black men talked about that, all y'all will go around and start saying, oh, you know what? It confirmed these black men hate us. But you can say whatever you want to say about black men, they ain't supposed to say nothing back to you. Which is also crazy, by the way. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.